good morning, and welcome to another episode of eSkwela, your learning session for us to understand new technologies that are being used in the online or digital classroom. So today we have prepared a very productive session for you. We are joined by our friend from AWS. So before we start, I'd like to ask everyone to please make sure that you address your questions on the chat box, and please put your email addresses so that we can answer your questions right after this webinar. Also, we have lucky winners of Gcash credits today, as well as eSkwela online learning course for teachers. So please stay tuned and please make sure that you stay with us all throughout the webinar. So let me just introduce to you our speaker for today. So graduating from De La Salle and pursuing her executive MBA while holding a job for Amazon Web Services, our speaker has been in the industry for 8 years, where she has worked with technologies from Microsoft to Oracle. And as a lead development representative for AWS, she covers the Philippines public sector, which includes government, education, healthcare, and NPO NGOs. Her role exposes her to all customers to the public sector, while collaborating with her peers in marketing, account management, solutions, architects, and the partner channel. She's the main point of contact for building relationships and continuously help partners and customers adopt Amazon Web Services. Let's all welcome Miss Trisha Joy Medina. Hi, Trish. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Mark. Good morning, everyone.
Morning. How are you? How have you been?
I'm good. Okay naman. I hope everyone is safe, healthy. We're okay.
Ayan. Excited ako ngayon kasi medyo hindi ko pa masyadong naiintindihan, or there's only a few and bits and pieces of knowledge that I know about cloud computing and education. And much as I want to preempt your talk, okay, let's talk about first your personal thing. Trish, what makes you blush? What makes you blush?
What makes me blush? This
Oo.
one.
Gawin natin light ang
Ito.
situation, no? Kasi
Itong ginagawa mo. Yeah.
but seriously, kidding aside, Trish, is there something that you have learned in the lockdown? Kasi ang tagal na natin, and our teachers even, and in your background deals with education, no? Parang is
Yes.
that you have discovered in this particular, lockdown?
Yes, of course. Medyo madami-dami rin. It's been almost 2 years na naka-work from home tayong lahat, learning from home tayong lahat. And ako, since I'm also doing my studies din, so I am also one of the students who's, nag-access ng mga learning materials online. So marami akong
That's true.
natutunan. And like for example, one and I'll be discussing this actually during my slide, but one thing na natutunan ko is really it's hard to isolate yourself from other people, especially your classmates, and it's hard to communicate nung una, 'di ba? It's very hard kasi it's very new eh. It's very new. But then good thing about us is we are very resilient as a as Filipinos especially, no. We're very resilient and we can easily adapt. So, yeah, I think that's one thing na dadalhin ko siguro kapag kahit natapos na tong pandemic na to.
Thank you, Trisha. Very interesting. Totoo nga naman, no? Natutest talaga yung resilience natin, and of course, our Filipino resiliency will still be there. So, Trish, I can't wait to hear your talk for today. So, you may share your screen. Feel free to share with us what you have for us today. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you, Mark. Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone. I cannot see you, but I hope you're having a great morning. So I'm Trisha Joy Medina again. I'm part of the public sector here in AWS. Today I'll be discussing cloud computing for education, right? The AWS experience. So let me start by let me just, all right. So let me start by discussing or mentioning these focus topics, right, for today. So we're going to discuss what are the industry trends in terms of education? Ano ba yung things na dapat nating matutunan as an education institution, right? Ano yung mga bago ngayon? We'll definitely going to discuss that. I'm also going to discuss how AWS be able to help you adapt on that industry trends, and how our customers in education institution have been using AWS to help them, right, in their for their organization to adapt in these trends. So let's begin. Okay. So today's workforce has totally changed. Due to globalization and our current situation, we definitely have, I mean, the way we live, the way we work, the way we learn things definitely has already changed a lot. So, and organizations are increasingly looking for options for employees and even for their students to work and to learn securely from any location, anywhere, especially the safe of their home. So our current situation actually forces universities to rethink their digital transformation initiatives that was envisioned for 5 to 10 years in the future. And the good thing about it is that nagawa nilang i-implement yon sa system nila or sa organizations nila within months. So think of it as how resilient, you know, um, ourselves, tayong mga management, tayong mga human, how resilient are we that yung plano natin for 5 to 10 years, we're able to complete this within months. And this pandemic actually makes the management and all our organizations appreciates more the need to be more resilient and agile. So as part of the new normal, and of course precautions, most universities are implementing, of course, social distancing. And not only universities, we ourselves are also doing social distancing, right? And the vast majority of universities across the world are offering already blended learning. So I understand, especially in the Philippines, we are already doing blended learning. So I'm not 100% sure if some of the universities are already allowing schools to come back to the campus. I believe not. Pero we're really doing blended learning already. And we are expecting this to happen in this current school year and also in the next academic year. Many schools also are already following short-term plans rather than long-term strategies. The reason for this is some of them just realized that they need to be more adaptive and resilient to the current situation na meron ngayon, or meron sila or na-experience nila yung sitwasyon na meron sila. So they're looking into having short-term plans rather than long-term strategies, right? However, meron pa ring mga schools that are really adopting or actually creating their long-term plans. But none of them seem to be envisioning that we will definitely or we will still return dun sa way na nakagawian natin before. So it seems that really flexible learning, this blended learning will stay. So aside from blended learning, aside from moving, if you've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed some of the slides as well, I've mentioned some organizations that already started to move their e-learning services or their learning management system to the cloud, to be online, to be available in the public, or publicly available, or online access, right? But not only learning applications, not only their learning management system, but also assessment models. So if you've noticed in these slides, there are few institutions or few customers that already have implemented moving their assessment to online, or moving their assessment to the cloud. And this is the new assessment model. If I may be more specific, Revisely. Revisely is an education company that helps teachers give better feedback to their students. I've seen this video. I don't know if you've also seen that, but the CEO of Revisely actually had this particular experience. Kaya binilt niya tong organization na to. is his experience is from his daughter, whereby after the daughter was able to get a feedback from the essay that she submitted weeks after she submitted that. So nung na-receive nung estudyante or na-receive yung daughter niya yung feedback or yung feedback niya dun, yung feedback nung teacher dun sa essay, hindi na niya maalala kung paano ba niya na-build yung essay. Paano ba niya talaga ginawa yung essay. So most of the students then kapag sobrang tagal na, I mean weeks before makakuha ng feedback or ng grade dun sa assessment na ginawa nila, most of the time hindi na fresh yung idea or hindi na fresh yung learning na ginawa nila dun sa assessment. So most of the time the feedback is no longer relevant. And relevant is very important sa pagpo-provide natin ng feedback, right? It needs to be fresh. Kailangan alam pa nung estudyante natin kung ano yung ginawa nila, bakit sila nagkaroon ng ganitong klaseng feedback, right? So with this new assessment model, it's easier for our teachers, our professors, to give feedback in not probably in real time, but then again, yung feedback na ipoprovide nila will definitely still be relevant to sa current situation ng bata or current situation ng mga students natin. So this is one important thing na minsan nalineglect natin, but then it's very important. Another thing is of course yung ginawa ni London School of Economics or LSE, where they have migrated their learning and assessment system to scale online examinations. So think of it, before, nung hindi pa sila nag-online, what they're doing is they have 800 concurrent students na nagtitake ng examinations. So isipin natin kung halimbawa thousands of students should take the exam and 800 lang ng 800 yung magtitake at a time. So it would definitely take weeks bago matapos yung examinations, and yung mga naunang nag-take ng exam, hindi na fresh sa kanila kung ano yung ginawa nila dun sa examination. So the feedback and the result will no longer be relevant for them again. Right? But what LSE did, since migrate nila yung system nila, they were able to actually allow more than 2,000 students to take the exams concurrently or at the same time. So it definitely saves time. And again, feedback will definitely be more relevant for the students, right? Another thing that I would want to discuss is, of course, virtual proctoring or proctor exam. Ako, as Mark mentioned earlier, I'm also a student. So some of my examinations are really I'm taking it online then. When I'm talking to some of my professors, some of them thought that meron silang parang worry na there's a possibility that the students are really not the one who's taking the exam, right? Or a big possibility that they may be like cheating going on kasi hindi natin na monitor or hindi nakikita ng mga professors yung nangyayari during the examination because the students are at the comfort of their home, right? But we have a technology which is called virtual proctoring, whereby this validates this validates that the students who will take the examination and who is taking the examinations is really your student, right? And at the same time, it actually assesses yung environment na meron sa paligid ng bata or na paligid ng student, if there are any potential of cheats or kung may mga gamit ba that would eventually potential na magkaroon ng cheating. So this technology or this solution would definitely help mga teachers to be more makampante sila, and at the same time it's not that parang wala tayong tiwala sa mga estudyante natin, hindi yon, but we're just giving them the maybe discipline, right, to study and to really pass the examinations that they will be taking, right? So another trend na I would like to focus on is of course employability ng mga estudyante natin. This thing is really not a new trend anymore. In fact, syempre as an education institution, as an academe, right, as an educator, um, proud tayo. Proud tayo kapag nakikita natin yung mga estudyante natin na successful, na working in a prestigious company or working in a company na sila mismo yung nag-put up, 'di ba? Kasi we teach them eh. Tayo yung nagturo sa kanila, tayo yung nag-guide sa kanila. So proud tayo. And this is something na, as I mentioned earlier, hindi na siya bago. So, noong una pa lang, of course, ang end mind lagi ng mga educators is to make sure na employable yung mga estudyante tinuturuan ko, that they will have a good future, right? And the difference may be noon tsaka sa ngayon is how competitive the market is right now. Sa sobrang bilis ng technology ngayon, yung change ng technology ngayon, I mean students, even professionals needs to, needs to keep up dun sa bilis ng technology na nangyayari ngayon sa atin. So, in fact, this is the reason why very famous ngayon yung very famous ngayon yung short-term courses, specialized courses, right? And especially yung mga certifications. So napakaraming lumalabas ngayon na mga short courses, and then you're going to have like a certification on a different aspect or different expertise, right? So this is why very famous siya kasi it gives you more credentials, it gives you more confidence na pag pag you're looking for a job already, or yung estudyante natin is looking for a job already, definitely may confidence siya that ma-hire siya or magkakaroon talaga siya ng better future. So this is again, this is not new, pero this becomes like a focus trend sa ngayon kasi universities, schools, and educators needs to somehow rethink, right? Possible adjusting their curriculum, adjusting their curricula to be able to adapt dun sa needs ng labor market, right? And so aside from that, this is something that I've mentioned to Mark earlier during my inintroduce ako ni Mark. Being isolated, right? Kasi ngayon lahat tayo nag-aaral lang sa bahay natin. We're working from home. We're studying from home, taking exams on on the comfort of our home. So online learning is really, there's an advantage and disadvantage, and this is basically one of the disadvantage. There's a study that was conducted in the United States whereby they mentioned that there's an effect there's a great effect of social isolation and loneliness to the mental health of our students, of our children, right? And it definitely increases the risk of depression and possibly anxiety. So this is something, kumbaga, this is threatening, to be honest, to, if I may say it on a personal note, no? This is threatening sa mga students kasi the pressure of building their credentials, the pressure of making sure na I'll definitely make it sa market, sa labor market, right, to have a good job and everything. But during the time na nag-aaral pa lang tayo, if this study will definitely go on, mental health will is something na kailangan i-focus ng mga educators din natin, ng institution din natin. And one thing na nakikita nila is the adopting predictive analytics. So this predictive analytics is like a technology and analytics that would help organizations, education institution to understand ano ba talaga yung current situation ng estudyante ko. And then from there, right, bibigyan kayo ng insight, magkakaroon kayo ng insights kung ano ba talaga yung nangyayari, and be able to adjust dun sa curriculum or curricula na na inilalabas or or ina-adapt natin doon sa mga estudyante natin. So predictive analytics is quite crucial and something that from this study, they believe na it would definitely help the institution na ma-address itong mental health challenge na nangyayari sa ngayon. Another threat na if I can say if I can discuss this, no, another threat na nakikita rin sa trend na to is of course yung cybersecurity, right? With much learning taking place online, institutions and education institutions are becoming more and more vulnerable to cyber attacks. In fact, in the US, in the United States, there's a new strain of malware. They call it NetWalker. So NetWalker, what it does is instead of merely encrypting the data, attackers began to steal sensitive information and threaten to publish those sensitive information if the organization is not is not gonna pay them. So this kind of cybersecurity threat is something na um, we need to focus on kasi everyone is online already. So we need to make sure that the application that we are putting in online is highly secured and hindi lang basta natin nilagay sa cloud or basta nilagay online. We have to make sure that we've consulted experts especially, right? Na highly secure talaga yung infrastructure na binibuild natin. And in response to these attacks, and of course to protect you in your future threats, universities that we are helping with and assisting with are using security features such as data encryption. We also have this multi-factor authentication. So instead of one single authentication, meron kang different authentication just to validate that you are really a legit user of that application or that data. And of course, putting your data into a virtual private network. So these are some of the things na pwede nating gawin just to make sure na highly secure yung infrastructure na i-build natin to secure and to lessen at least yung mga cyber attacks na potential na mag-corrupt or mag-disrupt ng ating institution. Right? So, on all those trends na na-discuss ko, how AWS be able to help you adapt to those trends? And what is AWS talaga? I don't know. I cannot see any one of you. I cannot get all your answers as well. But let me discuss first. Siguro, I'm not sure kung narinig nyo na rin si Amazon Web Services. But let me discuss it first with you. Then I'll discuss how can we help you adapt to these trends, right? But before I proceed, let me just set the expectation or basically set the definition of a cloud computing. I know you've heard it a lot, especially ngayon. You've medyo nagiging common na siya, naririnig na siya ng halos lahat sa atin. But let us define this, no? So the term cloud computing refers to an on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet. It is a pay-as-you-go pricing. So instead of buying, or organizations are buying and maintaining your own data centers or your own servers, organizations can actually acquire this technology such as compute or yung mga virtual servers natin, which we call compute power. We have storage, databases, and other services in as pay-as-you-go basis or as needed basis, right? So think of it as if you are simply switching off or switching on yung ilaw natin. So it's basically like that. So how you pay your electricity, that's how cloud computing also works. Kung ano lang yung nagamit natin, yun lang din po yung babayaran natin. Kung ano yung actual usage natin, yun lang din po yung babayaran natin. No hidden charges, no hidden cost. So that is what cloud computing is defined. So what really is now that we have defined cloud computing, ano naman ang relasyon nito sa AWS? So AWS is actually a cloud computing or a cloud service provider, right? We provide a highly reliable, scalable, low-cost infrastructure platform in the cloud that powers millions of businesses on over 190 countries around the world. So these are the benefits that all our customers are actually recognizing or nakukuha nila sa paggamit ng AWS services. Number one is of course low cost. Bakit low cost? Kasi of course, with cloud computing, you only pay for what you use. Kapag sumobra ka na, or kapag alam mo na susobra ka na sa budget based on your usage, we can help you, we can definitely help you to cost optimize. We can definitely help you manage the cost of your infrastructure, right? So it's very cost efficient and cost effective, right? Aside from that, think of it like, sabi ko nga kanina, you are paying your electricity, right? So part, 'di ba, sa mga bahay natin or sa mga universities natin, if we need to save up, kung kailangan tayo magtipid sa ilaw, wag muna tayong gagamit ng aircon. Or wag muna tayong patpatayin lahat ng ilaw hanggat maliwanag pa. So ganun yung ginagawa natin, which is it would definitely adopts to using cloud computing or using AWS services. Kapag nakikita mo na sobra ka na sa budget mo for that specific project or for that specific infrastructure, right? So all you have to do is to not use those services na hindi naman talaga kailangan. So gamitin muna natin yung mga services na critical, right? So another thing is elasticity and agility. This is something na I've been mentioning din po kanina na kailangan 'di ba, dapat resilient tayo as an organization kasi itong pandemic na to, this is very unexpected. Pero since we are resilient, most organizations already adopt into it. So may mga blended learning na tayo. Some of them are already migrating to the cloud. And cloud helps them, right? Cloud helps them to be more agile. Mas madali para sa kanila na mag-spin up ng mga servers nila. Mas madali sa kanila na mag-scale up and scale down kapag kailangan. Kapag maraming estudyante na nag-access, you just have to immediately spin up in within minutes additional infrastructure, additional instance para ma-accommodate yung dami ng estudyante. Or kapag bakasyon naman, right? Kapag bakasyon naman, um, institution can just easily shut down yung mga instances na to para mas makatipid sila, right? So meron tayong flexibility. You are definitely adopting agility sa organizations natin kapag you are leveraging cloud computing or AWS services. And definitely, of course, security. One of the trend is very famous or very vulnerable na tayo sa cyber attacks. So we need to make sure that the cloud service provider that you are choosing is highly secure. In AWS, security is always our number one priority. I have actually a separate slides to discuss that, but yun lang, we really need to make sure if your organization is already on the decision of putting your critical applications to the cloud, you have to make sure that the provider that you will be choosing is highly secured, right? And of course, global reach. I also have a separate slide for this, but global reach is something na nakukuha rin ng mga customers po namin. Kasi with AWS, we have a global infrastructure. I'll discuss it later on my succeeding slides. So this global infrastructure is easier for you as our customers to reach a lot of students. So for example, 'di ba, medyo famous po ngayon yung mga online classes or mga short-term classes. So some of the schools na tinutulungan namin, they've been reaching out to some students offshore. So nagre-reach out nasa Philippines sila, nagre-reach out na sila sa Dubai, nagre-reach out na sila sa here in Singapore or any other students around the world who would be interested dun sa ino-offer nilang courses. And in order for them to reach out easily and smoothly sa mga target students nila, they're leveraging on the cloud infrastructure, a global infrastructure in AWS. So what sets AWS apart? As you know, or if you do not know yet, there are few actually cloud provider who are providing cloud services to the market, right? But what definitely sets AWS apart is we believe that our customers have been choosing, or is definitely choosing us, or thousands of customers has been choosing us because we have proven ourselves committed to their success. How, bakit namin nasabi yon? First is, of course, we've been in the industry longest, right? We've been here since 2006. Um, so the maturity of our services is already there. We've definitely made a lot of improvements already sa mga services namin and sa mga solutions na pinaprovide namin sa market because we've been here for more than a decade na, right? And when we say that we are committed to their customer with their success, being a customer obsessed organization, we are actually treating our partners, we are really treating our customers as our partners, right? We are helping them to cost optimize. In fact, if you can see on these slides on our pricing philosophy, we already reduced our price 107 proactive reductions. So we have reduced our price for 107 times already since 2006 na establish si AWS. So how are we doing that? Bakit kami nagkakaroon ng bakit si AWS nagkakaroon ng proactive reductions? If you're familiar, and I think you're all familiar naman po with the economies of scale. So AWS are leveraging economies of scale for this one. So the more customers using our services, right, the more services being used by our customers, the more savings AWS is incurring. So this savings, right, we're as a customer obsessed organization, we are giving it back to our customers as price reductions. So if you have, for example, after this webinar, you would do your own research, for example. So may makikita kayo na mga pricing ng services namin that really reduces over time, or really reduces as you put more data, or more as you use more services with AWS. So that's how we do it, right? We're actually giving back to our customers. And we also have more than almost 200 services. So we have the breadth and depth of services na pwedeng gamitin ng mga customers po namin. And in fact, being customer obsessed din na organization, most and majority of the new features that we are releasing came from customer feedbacks. So as I mentioned earlier during the trends, right, feedback is very important. Feedback needs to be fresh, right? Hindi siya yung feedback mo kahapon, gagawin mo next year. Yung solution ng feedback na yun, gagawin mo next year. Kasi hindi na siya relevant. And in this time of in this um I mean, decade ngayon, ngayong panahon na to, relevant is always important. Being relevant is always important. So yeah, so most of our services that we are actually releasing came from customer feedback. Pag nagsabi si customer na hey, AWS, I think this is something that you can build, or this is something that you can adjust to your current services, ginagawa namin yon. Especially kapag we realize and alam namin that it would definitely benefit majority or all of our customers, right? And of course, we have partner ecosystem. We also have partner ecosystem. So it hindi siya, it does not stop with AWS services, right? Meron kami mga partners. In fact, if you're familiar with AWS Marketplace, so ito mga partners namin na to, we are really helping them to make themselves known din sa mga customers namin. Kasi we believe that this partners of ours, this technology na meron kami sa AWS Marketplace can definitely help our customers make their infrastructure more secure then, and more efficient and more relevant sa target students or target clients nila, right? Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that in AWS cloud security is a job zero for us. So it means that it is our number one priority, right? So we have 50 global compliances, certifications, and accreditations. These are all recognized globally. So you can make sure na yung data, or yung data center na pinuput up ni AWS is definitely compliance, right? Sa standard ng ng education institution. Sorry. Yeah. So we need to make sure that yung paglalagay natin data center is of course compliant. Another thing is that if you're familiar with the personally identifiable information or yung PII, what they call the PII. So PII has been a continuous importance or a continuous important topic among all sectors. This definitely includes education, right? This is also the reason why 5,000 education institutions have already turned to AWS as a highly efficient way to manage and secure their information, especially their students' data. So in AWS, we also have this term called shared responsibility model. So what it does is we are we are making sure or we are securing our data centers, making sure na yung nga, highly compliant siya. But then again, we are relying to our customers. We are relying to you that you only give access or you only give access to your data or to your applications dun lang sa mga tao na may kailangan talaga ng access na yon. Again, with AWS, we are not owning your data. When you put your data and your application to the cloud, to AWS cloud, AWS has no access into it, right? The data will be your own data. Kayo ang may-ari niyan. Wala kaming access dyan. So we are relying to you to na kayo yung magbibigay ng access sa right people na kailangan lang mag-access nung data na yon. So this is also one thing na that justifies that we are really treating our customers as our partners, right? So I've mentioned this earlier, the global infrastructure. So we currently have 25 geographical regions, 81 availability zones, and 130 POPs. So these are, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but let me just run through it. So when we say regions in AWS, this is a um, physical, um, uh, physical data center na or physical region or how do I say it? Um, um, entity, right? Or physical regions na binibuild na AWS. So we have one in Singapore, we have one in Hong Kong, we have few in Europe and in the US as well. So within regions, we have availability zones. So currently, we have 81 availability zones. Availability zones are basically clusters of data centers within the region. So for example, for Singapore region, right, we have 3 availability zones. So within that availability zones, there are 3 data centers. So if you think of it, in Singapore alone, kapag nilagay natin yung data natin sa Singapore, your data will be highly replicated or will be highly available within that 9 data centers. So availability is a way na ginawa ni AWS for making sure that your data will be highly available and less yung downtime ng applications natin. We also have 230 plus POPs or what we call the point of presence. So what it does, it helps organizations to access with the lowest latency ng application natin. So imagine, that's what I'm saying earlier, yung mga customers namin na nagre-reach out sa mga students nila globally, right? So imagine kung halimbawa nilagay natin yung application sa US, pero may mga estudyante tayo na nag-access sa Philippines, may nag-access sa within Asia Pacific. Imagine kung gaano kabagal yung magiging user experience ng mga estudyante natin. Mabagal yung access nila sa application kasi nanggagaling pa sa US, right? But with POPs or point of presence, na kasama sa global infrastructure na AWS, it allows you to have the lowest latency possible sa area natin. So kahit na nasa US pa yung application natin, nilagay sa US yung application natin, yung user experience or yung pag-access sa application, as if nasa Philippines pa rin siya. So that's how POP works, right? And this is how our customers are leveraging global infrastructure, right? So for since we are discussing cloud computing for education, we think about AWS global education business in distinct buckets. So these are high ed, K-12, ed techs, and learning companies. So learning companies, of course, these are the training centers na nag-offer ng, of course, different certifications and different trainings sa students nila. But then again, AWS acknowledges that each subverticals are unique and they have their own unique requirements and their own unique challenges. So AWS also acknowledges that these subverticals has their common shared mission. And we know and we acknowledge that this mission is of course improving learner outcomes, making sure na lahat ng estudyante na tinuturuan natin is definitely would get better education, right? So what we're seeing right now, most of our customers na lumalapit sa amin, ito yung very common. Of course, modernization and cost management. There's actually the third one, of course, is training, right? So I want to focus on because of kapag may mga modernization or new applications or new strategies tayong ini-implement sa organization natin, it always equates to a certain cost, right? Kailangan yung organization nag-i-invest pa rin. So with AWS, as I mentioned earlier, we definitely would help you to manage your cost. So kahit na dumadami or nagkakaroon kayo ng marami at iba't ibang klaseng strategies for your organizations, we are guiding you and assisting you that you will still be able to manage your cost and that you're only paying dun sa resources na kailangan lang na organizations natin. And this is one thing na very common sa mga organizations na lumalapit, sa mga schools na lumalapit sa amin. We're helping them do migration. So not exactly mass migration kasi when we say mass migration, it's like lifting everything or putting everything to the cloud. But with AWS, it's really it's not an all or nothing migration, or not all or nothing type of organization, right? We can actually start small. So may mga organizations kami or may mga schools kami na ina-assist na try lang muna natin is, for example, they're quite new with cloud. So they're saying na, sige Trish, try muna natin yung learning management system namin. So yung critical applications lang muna natin. And then when they're more familiar, right? They're more familiar with cloud, they're more familiar on how to navigate AWS, then eventually unti-unti tinutulungan namin sila to put everything to the cloud. Right? It's easier for them to increase capacity, it's easier for them and flexible for them to even decrease capacity. Right? So these are the things na nakikita namin na very common na use cases sa mga customers, sa mga education institution na natutulungan namin. And the third na nabanggit ko is of course yung training faculties. I know that as an educator, lagi tayong nag-evolve, right? Lagi tayong nag-aaral. Learning never stops, sabi nga nila. So, and we are helping you to be trained din. Kasi once we help our educators na matuto ng cloud or particularly AWS cloud, it would be definitely easier for you to teach that to your students. So later on my slides, we have some programs and team who are really helping education institutions para ituro ang cloud technology sa kanila. Again, it would definitely relates dun sa trend natin kanina, which is yung employability. And mind you po that cloud computing is quite famous na, or usually hinahanap na yan na skill set ng mga employees nowadays. Right? Another thing is institution wants to move faster. Sabi ko nga, aside from employability, I also mentioned part of the trend is of course relevance, right? Relevance and fresh feedbacks. So on the old world, meaning on a traditional world, traditional sense ng setup natin, ng infrastructure natin, kapag ang isang educator suggested a certain strategy para i-apply sa either staffs or i-apply para sa gamitin ng mga students, yung MIS team natin or yung ICT team natin, most of them, it would take weeks, even months, just to implement that. So by the time na na-implement na siya, yung relevant nung strategy na yon or nung application na yon, possible kailangan lang i-update. Hindi na siya ganun ka-updated. Hindi na siya ganun ka-relevant sa current situation. So kailangan na naman siyang i-update. So nasasayang. May mga hindi tayo nakakapag-save ng time. Whereas if we leverage AWS infrastructure, if we leverage cloud computing in our initiatives, in our strategies, right? You can actually have your infrastructure within minutes. So kapag si educator or si management nakapag-isip na, hey, I've thought of this. Mas maganda siguro i-implement natin to sa staff natin, sa students natin. Immediately yon. Within minutes, pwede tayong mag-put up ng instance. Pwede tayong ilagay yung application sa cloud and then test it out, right? Test it out, nakita natin na talagang relevant siya, talagang magagamit siya ng students natin, magagamit talaga siya ng staffs natin, then immediately roll it out into production. Then just scale up kapag kailangan ng mas maraming estudyante na mag-access. So, yung relevance ng strategies natin will definitely be there at nagagamit talaga siya. Right? Opportunities of the cloud is beyond infrastructure. I've been mentioning cloud infrastructure. I've been mentioning servers, instances, but with AWS, it goes beyond that. In fact, these are some of the use cases na nakikita rin namin na very common na pwedeng i-leverage ng mga institution natin or ng mga schools natin. We have, of course, yung mga genomics. If you have research laboratories, if you have virtual laboratories, we can definitely assist you on that. We have machine learning and analytics. As I mentioned earlier, yung trend na mental health challenge natin. We have analytic services na pwede nating i-leverage to give you insight kung ano ba talaga ang kailangan ng mga estudyante ko. Ano ba talaga yung kailangan kong strategy gawin. Right? So, we are definitely can help you through this. Right? I'm almost done with my slides, but this slide's very more overwhelming, but I just want to show you how the breadth and depth of services in AWS, that it is, from compute to analytics, we have that, right? It's just here, it's very overwhelming, pero we just want to make sure that kung ano yung use case natin, definitely meron tayo may itulong dyan sa inyo. And lastly, of course, I've mentioned training and upskilling. So we have AWS Educate, we have AWS Academy as well. So these are the two programs and the two teams who definitely will help you as an organization na makapag-focus matuto sa cloud, and at the same time, maituro ang cloud sa estudyante natin. Again, employability and relevance, right? So these are the things na definitely makakatulong sa atin. And most education na nakausap namin are very interested in this one. Right? So just a few use cases and few customer cases. So these are some of the reference customer na gumagamit na ng AWS. So it's quite overwhelming. This is not all, but these are the one who can, pwede naming magamit as a public reference. Just want to highlight few, right? Which is yung SUSS in Singapore, which is Singapore University of Social Sciences. So the challenge that they have basically is their e-learning services is on-premise. When say on-premise, nasa data center lang nila. So ang nangyari, it's very difficult for them to be able to build like mobile applications kasi very famous yung mobile applications since everyone's already using mobile phones and different devices. So they're starting to build mobile applications, but then nahirapan sila kasi i-roll out because on-premise, yung server nila on-premise is no longer sufficient para doon. So what it does is they came to AWS, we helped them migrate everything to AWS cloud, and now the benefits that they got is of course student experience kasi the students can hindi lang nila na-access through web, na-access nila to different devices. So mas madali para i-access ng estudyante yung mga materials, courses materials na kailangan nila for their classes. And the interesting part there is that migrate natin sila sa cloud, but then again, they were able to reduce 50% of their infrastructure costs, right? Another thing is of course amma education system. Um, Again, it's also related to the learning management system. So performance is always a concern kasi na nga nasa on-premise lang siya. Scaling up is always a concern kasi nga nasa on-premise lang siya. And at the same time, most of them, as an IT, I don't know, I know may intindihan natin to, but as an IT, minsan nakafocus lang tayo sa troubleshooting, right? So wala na tayong time to innovate. But when amma starts migrate everything to AWS cloud, nagkaroon sila ng time to innovate. At least 50% of their time is nakaalat lang sa pag-i-innovate ng system nila, pag-innovate actually ng buong organization nila instead of just doing the nitty-gritty troubleshooting ng system nila, right? And lastly, education.ph, also an edtech startup. So they went to AWS to help them, right, migrate and scale up their system. So same story, nahihirapan sila to scale, nahihirapan sila to roll out new strategies and new innovation. So they came to AWS to help them scale up and to help them reach as many education or as many schools that they can reach. In fact, one of the benefits na nakita nila after using AWS is that they were able to maintain their spending despite increasing traffic. So sa dami ng traffic nila dun sa system, they will still maintain their spending or yung cost nila. And they were able to increase deployments from every 12 weeks to 2 updates a week. So yung innovation mas maging mabilis. Again, relevance, right? And aside from that, these are also the most 6 popular scenarios na nakikita namin na very common sa customers na lumalapit sa amin. Of course, website. Especially kapag medyo dynamic yung website natin, security is always the key. We need to make sure na yung website natin hindi basta-basta mahahack yan. Kasi it would definitely reflect to the credibility of the schools as well. So we need to make sure na kung saan man natin nilalagay yung website natin, it is definitely secure. Of course, learning management system. Moodle is one of our famous use cases sa mga customers namin. So we've been helping them to migrate Moodle LMS. Virtual laptops or virtual desktops, right? Yung laboratories natin, since everyone is working from home, yung computer labs natin is no longer being used. So might as well strategize, right? Do a virtual laboratories instead. So we are helping you with that. We are helping our customers with that. And of course, and many more. I mean, this is just few, but these are the most common. Storage gateway, backups, archiving. These are very common, but then again, as I mentioned earlier, yung vast and depth ng services na AWS will definitely help you on whatever use case that you'll have. Right? So, medyo nag-over ata ako sa time ko, but that's the last of my slides. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learn about what AWS and how AWS can be able to help you. I have my contact there. If you have any questions, reach out to me or of course to Globe, our partner. Then we can definitely help you to move forward. Right? Mark?
Thank you so much, Trisha. Maraming salamat. Very enlightening. These are some of the use cases that our other schools would benefit from, and hopefully enjoy also AWS and cloud in their own ecosystems. No, maraming salamat, Trisha, for being with us today, for saying yes to us in a very short notice. Thank you so much, AWS, for gracing our episode for today. So mga Eskwela, we have our winners for today. Don't forget to contact us at education@globe.com.ph for you to get your prizes as well. So can we flash our winners for today? We have some winners. of eSchool online teaching course, and of course, GCash credits. Yeah, and we have some people. So Leonardo Surio, Vincent Miliante, and Joe. Please contact us in our channels, most especially those who have won the slots. Plus, for those who are asking for the e-certificates, yes po. So as long as you have registered in the QR code, QR link, we will be sending the certificates, the e-certificates online. So again, this is Mark Abalos, and thank you again, AWS, for gracing our episode for today. Maraming salamat, and we'll see you again in the next episode of Eskwela. Thank you so much, everyone, and
Thank you.